going to look now very quickly at Act 1, Scene 6 and 7 of Macbeth. It's interesting. Act 1, Scene 6 is, trivial, deeply unimportant. Nothing really important happens in it at all. Duncan arrives at Macbeth's castle. He's greeted by Lady Macbeth. In the previous scene, she had said, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it." And we see her, acting out that plan, that strategy in this scene as she greets the king, pretending to be, delighted to see him and wanting to entertain him, when in fact she's delighted to see him because she's planning on helping her husband kill him. And then you get into Act 1, Scene 7, which, as I said to you before, I'm for good or for ill, I'm a Shakespeare fanboy. I just love his stuff. I love reading the plays. The stuff never gets old to me, even though it might be old to you. I always see something fresh in it. And even though I would know most of the plays pretty well, and some of the plays very well, I struggle to think of one single scene which is better than the one that we're going to look at now. This play has some amazing standalone scenes. That first scene where the witches appear, fair is foul and foul is fair, unreal. The next scene where the power of Shakespeare's language to evoke something like a battle, in such cinematic style it's incredible. You've got the Banquo's ghost scene later on in Act 3. There are so many brilliant scenes in this play, but this one has to be the best of a lot of them. It has to be. I didn't mention the bloody hand scene in Act 2, Scene 2, but this is amazing because this is the scene in which we see Macbeth deliver one of the greatest soliloquies that Shakespeare wrote. So again, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go through very quickly the summary, and then I'm going to have a quick look at the quotes. And I'll try and do all this into one video, okay? So we know that it features a soliloquy, and we know what a soliloquy is. A soliloquy is a speech in which the private thoughts of the character are revealed to the audience. That creates a connection between the character and the audience. And of course, it helps us understand what's going on inside him, making him a much more substantial character. It is a speech in which his morality is revealed, his conscience is revealed, but it's a speech which also reveals the extent of his moral corruption and, as he described it, his vaulting ambition. Now, to think about that verb, to vault. If you vault over something, you jump over something. And when Macbeth refers to his vaulting ambition here, what he's really saying is, I'm aware of all of the reasons why I shouldn't do this. I know that there are many, many, many reasons why killing the king is simply something I shouldn't even consider. But the power of my ambition is so great that it overcomes all of those ambitions. So when we hear him speaking in soliloquy, he comes up with 7 reasons not to kill the king. And he only has one reason to do it. And it seems as if, when you finish listening to this soliloquy, it seems as if he's come to the decision not to do it. Then his wife comes in, Lady Macbeth, and she hears that he says, "I'm not going to do it." And she chastises him, she gives out to him. And there's often a misreading of the play here, that it's all her fault that he does it, that he says he's not going to do it, and then she says, "You have to do it." So he says, "Okay, I'll do it." Now, if that's the case, then he's not a tragic hero. If that's the case, then he's just a weak little man who is like a cuckold, who's bullied by his wife, and he's not a tragic hero. Tragic hero has to be somebody who has hamartia, for whom their tragedy comes from within. That's what a tragic hero is. So Macbeth is not that, if that's the interpretation. What's really happening here is Shakespeare is demonstrating to us how Macbeth knows clearly all the reasons why he shouldn't do what he does. But he also demonstrates to us the dynamic of the relationship between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. When in Act 1, Scene 5, she said, "Hie thee hither," which means hurry up and get here, "that I may pour my spirits in thine ear." It was because she was worried about his conscience. She described it as the milk of human conscience. She was afraid of the milk of human kindness. She was afraid that his conscience would get in the way. And this is exactly what she understood would happen. He would have this moral crisis, but he knows that he can rely on her to help him overcome this crisis in order to achieve his goal. And of course, she knows that her role is to do that. So they are symbiotic. They rely on each other. They derive their power from each other. It's a fascinating depiction of a relationship. So when Lady Macbeth chides him in this scene, when she gives out to him, when she emasculates him or appears to, call him suggest he's not manly enough to do what needs to be done, you have to understand that these are for her, this is an act of love. This is what he needs. And of course, he receives those words as a man who is grateful for them, because she's giving him the pep talk that he needs to do, not what he doesn't want to do. She's not forcing him to do something he doesn't want to do. He understands that she's helping him do something that he wants to do. So remember, Lady Macbeth is culpable. Her words in this scene are evidence of her corruption and her guilt and her participation in the murder of Duncan. So there's no question whatsoever that she deserves to get punished. But her actions don't absolve him. You can't say it's all her fault, she makes him do it. First of all, that's just wrong. Secondly, I think there's a tinge of sexism about that. Blame the woman. There's a third thing that's more important than all of that, and that's that when we look at the play, we see it's simply not correct to say that Macbeth is made to do it. He's a tragic hero. Therefore, the ultimate decision comes from him. So that's what's really important in the scene. You can read that note yourself. Let's have a look at the quotes. This is the first 5 quotes here. These are all from the soliloquy. He's thinking about what he wants to do, and he says, "If it were done, when 'tis done, 'twere best it were done quickly." I love that quote. You're not going to learn it this year. It's nice. He's just thinking about what is it. He says, if I'm going to do it, I better do it quickly. It's like tearing the plaster off. I better get it over with. And then he starts thinking about what he's going to do. And he starts thinking about why he shouldn't do it. Now, reason number 1 is this quote. And this is a really top 10 quote. He says, "This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poison chalice to our own lips." Fantastic. What have we got there? We've got imagery. And the image is of somebody who poisons another human being, and in the act of doing that is forced to drink the poison themselves. So if you make the decision to kill that guy, you're making a decision to destroy yourself. Now, what is it? What does the image represent? Well, it represents Macbeth's belief in God. God is the even-handed justice. And what Macbeth understands is, if he kills the king, he will be punished. There is no escaping that. He understands that, and if you look at the introduction to the play, you'll see he understands that God is omniscient, he knows everything, omnipresent, he is everywhere, and most importantly, omnipotent, all-powerful. So while he may kill the king and get away with it in the world of man, ultimately, because to people of faith, to people in this world where God is absolutely real, not a theoretical question or a belief. God is a proactive part of the world in which he exists. He knows if he kills the king, he's going to be punished. So later on in the play, when he starts feeling sorry for himself, we have to think about that, the fact that he knew it in advance. He then recognises that simply there are moral reasons why he should not be killing this guy. First of all, he's here in double trust. I'm his kinsman and I'm his subject. And what he means by that is, he's a member of my family. You don't kill members of your own family. He's my king. You don't kill your king. So he understands the fact that the idea of killing the Duncan is morally repugnant. It goes against the natural laws. He understands that Duncan has done nothing to deserve this. He understands that Duncan is a fundamentally good man who has been picked by God. He says his virtues will plead like angels trumpet-tongued against his taking off. I'll come to the words I left out there in a second. He's saying virtues are positive qualities. He's saying Duncan is a virtuous man. He's a good man. And the angels in heaven will cry out if I kill this guy. So Duncan not only is killing him, self-destructive, I'll be having to drink the poison. Not only should you not kill your own family, should you not kill your king, but also Duncan's not even a tyrant. He's not somebody who abuses his power. There's no excuse for this. He's a good man. And within that quote is another reason for Macbeth not to do it, and that is his reference to deep damnation. Damnation means to be sent to hell. Deep damnation means automatic punishment, that you're going to be sent to hell. Macbeth understands a simple truth. And that simple truth is this. If he kills Duncan, that is a crime which even God, who is believed to be love and forgiveness, even God will not forgive. That is a red line crime. And if he kills Duncan, he's going to go to hell. So what a compelling reason not to do it. So again, if I do it, it's self-destructive. He's a member of my family. He's my king. He's a good man, doesn't deserve it. I'll go to hell. So he has all these reasons not to do it. And he recognizes, I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition. And the imagery again is really striking. The image of the spur. A spur is a word for a motive. A spur is actually something that a horseman or an equestrian wears on the back of their boots. They give the horse, the flanks of the horse, a kick to make it speed up, to giddy up. So a spur is a motive. He says, I have no spur. I have no reason to do this. In fact, he comes up with 7 reasons not to do it. I have no reason to do this, but only my vaulting ambition. And you can read that and say, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm so ambitious. But of course, there's 7 reasons not to do it. But actually, the interpretation, the correct interpretation, the one that what happens later on in the play proves to be the correct interpretation, is that he understands that while his logical mind recognizes all these reasons not to do it, his ambition is so all-consuming, is so powerful, is so vaulting, that it will negate all those reasons. And despite all that logical, rational awareness of how this is the wrong thing to do, he's going to do it. Now, at this stage, he's in a moral quandary. He's in a moral qualm. His wife walks in. He says to her, we shall proceed no further in this business. He tells her, we're not going to do this. But really what he's saying is, we're not going to do this, are we? He's reaching out for support, and she provides it. She provides it. Remember, she said at the start, hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear. And then she later said, and chastise with the valour of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round. The golden round being the crown, the symbol of royal power and authority. She's going to use her words to help him overcome any obstacles. This was the moment she was waiting for. She knew the milk of human kindness would cause him to hesitate. She knew that he'd have this moment of doubt. And this is when she acts. And she tells him, I have given suck, which means she has breastfed her children. And know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. And she goes on to describe that beautiful maternal link between the mother and the child. And then she tells us this. And folks, this has to be one of the most famous quotes from all of Shakespeare. She says, I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you have done to this. And what she's doing there, she's referencing infanticide. One of the most heinous, horrendous, unimaginable crimes one can imagine. A mother killing her own child. And she's saying, I'm a woman. And she's playing on her role as a woman. And the idea that she's supposed to be the weaker sex and he's supposed to be the big, strong warrior. I'm a woman. And if I swore I'd kill my baby, I'd be able to do it. You're a man. You swore you were going to do this. Are you not able to do it? Her words are forceful. Her words are suggestive of evil. They are. There's no doubt. That image of, tearing the baby from the breast and then smashing the baby's brains in. It's visceral. It's disturbing. It's unpleasant. But folks, it's just words. She doesn't kill a baby. She doesn't kill anybody. This is her doing what she knows he needs her to do. This is her giving him. And by the way, when I say this, I'm not taking away in any way her guilt, her culpability, her corruption. All of those things are true, but we cannot say she makes him do it. They have this synergy, this relationship. She is giving him the strength he wants. She's giving him that final push to do not what she wants him to do, but what she knows he wants to do himself. Very, very, very important. And then, crucially, she gives him the plan. She gives him a roadmap. This is how we do it. And she tells him that she's going to drug the guards and then Duncan's bodyguards, and then Macbeth will be able to go in and do the crime. And the sense of salacious anticipation. Sorry. Again, points to her corruption here. Salacious means kind of lip smacking, like she can't wait to do something, like you smell the food and you can't wait to eat it. She says, when in swinish sleep their drenched natures as in a death, what cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? She's talking about murdering a king there. And she's talking about it with anticipation, with pleasure. She is utterly corrupt, but she has succeeded in doing what she wanted to do, which was give him the strength. He has the roadmap. He has the inspiration. He already wants to do it. Now he feels he can do it. And he says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go back to the party and wait for tonight. And he says, in one of the most famous lines in the whole play, false face must hide what the false heart doth know. Great example of repetition by Shakespeare. Great example of imagery. Macbeth is going to go out, put on the false face and pretend to be Duncan's loyal vassal, loyal servant, because he needs to do that to hide his false heart. A false heart is a corrupt heart. He knows he's corrupt. He knows that she's corrupt. He knows what they're planning is wrong, but they're ready and he's going to do it. There will be one more moment of hesitation, one more pre-regicide soliloquy. He's on the edge now. If he does it, he's lost his heroic qualities. He's lost his status as a hero, and he'll become what we will refer to as a tragic hero. And all of that happens in Act 2 of the play.